As we near the end of October, the family fun is just getting started. Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Wisconsin's Outdoor Explorer podcast. I am your host, Jason. And as the temperatures slowly get colder each week, it means that we are in the beginning of the transition period from fall to early winter. And you all know what I mean. The days start getting a little shorter as far as light goes. I mean, it's already 6 o'clock and it's getting darker. The temperatures are getting colder. We've had our first frost on the ground and even a few flakes in the air. And that just means to me that it makes getting out this time of year really important. It's also a chance for you to enjoy some of Wisconsin's great temperatures along with what's left of the beautiful colors. Now, again, up north and kind of central Wisconsin, the colors are past peak and the leaves are starting to fall. You get closer to the south and the leaves are still getting to peak. So there's still time to get out there and enjoy those beautiful fall colors. But along with those fall colors, you'll be able to enjoy numerous activities without the worry of it being too hot out or being too cold out. And I think you know what I mean. You know, think about your activities in the summertime. If it's too hot, it's really not that enjoyable. And if it's too cold, it's also really not that enjoyable. So this makes it the perfect time for families to get out and enjoy fall with your kids. Now, I've done some episodes in the past where I've talked about getting your kids out, and that's kind of what this episode is a little bit about too. I've got 3 small girls, and it's really important for us to get them out there to enjoy Wisconsin during the fall season. So I wanted to take this episode and give you some fall tips, because my family really enjoys this time of year, probably more than any other time of year. My wife and I know that we won't have to deal with things like overheating or the kids being too cold. It just makes our family time so much more enjoyable. And there's so many great things to do this time of year. And again, that's why I want to try to bring you some ideas, because getting our kids outdoors any time of the year is so important. But the fall season, to me, offers some of the best family fun of the year. There are numerous things you can do that will fit in your weekend and fill it with smiles, laughter, and of course, those important memories. First on the list is the Wisconsin pumpkin patches. You know, Wisconsin has a rich farming tradition, and it's more than just what you see out in the fields. You know, the corn, the soybeans, the alfalfa, all that. It's more than just that. It also includes all the fruits that grow throughout the state, and pumpkins are a big deal in more ways than one. But finding that right pumpkin is always half the fun for me, and half the fun for my family. And Wisconsin is lucky to have numerous pumpkin patches throughout the state. You know, we've got like really perfect conditions for pumpkin growing here. And if you listen to a past episode about the giant pumpkins, they also say that there, that we just have a great climate here for growing pumpkins. And I think that's obvious when you see all the roadside pumpkin stands that are out there right now. Now, you could stop at one of these stands and pick up a pumpkin just as easily as anything. But finding the right pumpkin, to me, is really half the fun of fall. And the numerous pumpkin patches throughout the state really offer you and your family a chance to go pick the perfect one. I mean, one of the great things about pumpkin patches is the wide variety of ways you can get your pumpkins. When you visit, you'll more likely have your choice to pick out one that's already been picked. You know, there's always wagon full of pumpkins, and I think we all have probably been to a pumpkin patch where we've seen this. And you could, of course, do that, but there's also that opportunity to get out and get your hands dirty and walk the patch to find the perfect pumpkin. And honestly, what kid doesn't enjoy running through the patch and finding that special pumpkin? My kids enjoy this tremendously. They run all over the pumpkin patch and they look for that pumpkin and they'll pick a few out and then they'll go back and compare, and it really does make a fun day. Now, I become kind of the standby here. Dad, you stand here and watch this one so nobody takes it. And of course, when they do pick one out, it's got to be the biggest pumpkin that they can find. So of course, that's also my job, is to pick up that pumpkin and bring it out. But it really is fun for our whole family to go out there and do that. And the nice thing about this is there are numerous types of pumpkin patches out there. For instance, we went to one this year that was unmanned. It was, you come anytime you want to come and you pick your pumpkin, and it was all honor system. And I think that to me is really kind of a neat way to do it in Wisconsin, because it really shows our testament of how trustworthy we are with each other, and how we can go out, pick the pumpkin, leave the money, and they don't need to be around for that. But there's also other pumpkin patches that give you a more immersive experience, that you go out and you can pick the pumpkin, and sometimes there's wagon rides that take you out to the pumpkin patch and bring you back, and there's games and activities for kids to play, and there's food stands. I mean, some places really go all out, and that's kind of the fun of the pumpkin patch, is you can actually make a full day out of going to a pumpkin patch and just enjoying a great Wisconsin fall. If you haven't been to one yet, make sure you get this on your list before they're too late. The pumpkins are going fast. Make sure you get out there and get one before the Halloween season, because once you got that pumpkin home, it doesn't end there. That fun continues with the carving of the pumpkins and decorating the house and just giving your home that real fall feeling. Now, if picking fruit from the ground isn't your thing, maybe you're more into pulling it off of a tree. Now, apple picking is another fun way to get out and see some of Wisconsin's great produce. I know it's getting to that time of year where some of these orchards are starting to close and they've already been picked through, but still check them out. There's still some out there yet. It was a little bit of a later season, so that kind of makes it a little bit of a bonus for us this year. And I always say apple picking is another fun way to get out and see some of Wisconsin's great produce. There's so many different varieties of apples to choose from, and you're sure to find something so you can make that delicious pie or crisp or fritters or, whatever apple thing you love. And I love apples, so whatever you can come up with, I enjoy apples. And again, there's usually more activities for the kids to do when you're done picking. Some of them offer some small petting zoos where you can pet goats and sheep and things like that. And, they'll offer little play areas for the kids. I've seen them where they'll stack hay bales up and you can climb on a hay bale tower. I mean, there's a lot for the kids to do and a lot for families to do. And who doesn't like to come away with some fresh Wisconsin apples in the end? And, of course, you got to stop for the hot apple cider. And if you're lucky, they'll make apple donuts, which they're the best. It's really a great time to get out and see all the amazing things that grow in this state and all the things that encompass farming in Wisconsin. I think a lot of times when we think farming, we think cows and dairy, which is, of course, the biggest industry in the state. But don't forget that there's more to farming than just that. It is all the pumpkin patches, the apple orchards, the cranberries. It's all that stuff that really makes Wisconsin such a great farming state. Now, one of the things that you'll find at some of these pumpkin patches and apple orchards, but not all, are corn mazes. I've always been amazed at how detailed these mazes can get and how many acres they can cover. Some of the larger ones in the state can cover up to 15 acres. So you could be spending a lot of time in a corn maze, walking around and just enjoying the day. No matter the size, corn mazes can make for a fun afternoon and sometimes evening, depending on the maze, for families to navigate through. Now, this may not be a great activity for smaller children, just because they get kind of bored or they might get confused or a little bit scared, but there are some places that have shorter mazes or smaller mazes so that you can take your younger kids through. And most of them are pretty wide that you can run a stroller through them as well. But I think this is more of the older kids. You get from that 8 to 13 range that they're still ready to hang out with their parents yet for a little while. But they can really enjoy the challenge of getting through a maze. And there's always usually some checkpoints or some sort of scavenger hunt that you have to go through and make sure that you find these little things so that maybe there's a prize at the end when you get to the end. Check them out. They are some really cool things. I mean, they're really doing some really neat things with GPS now so that they can really get some cool details in these corn mazes. And if you're a drone person, maybe you can get the drone up and you can get a great shot of the way some of these corn mazes look. But I tell you, they can be a lot of fun for the family, and you can spend a pretty good afternoon on some of these larger ones just walking through and making your way to the end. I'll admit this next one isn't for everyone. In fact, I'm not one that would partake probably in something like this. But for the family filled with thrill seekers, this is going to be tops on your list. Believe it or not, Wisconsin is full of haunted tales from beyond. From haunted graveyards to design haunted houses. If you're into being scared, this is your time of year. And there are many things you can do this time of year. There are haunted houses that organizations put together. Of course, you can go through that. I know there was some haunted sawmills for a while that were going on and cool things like that. And if you're into that, that is great. But there's also some haunted tours that you can travel throughout the state that talk about specific areas that may be haunted or where people have encountered things that are unexplainable in a way. So there's many types of tours you can take throughout the state that'll give you the thrills and the chills you've been looking for. But of course, be advised, some of these attractions may have an age limit, so you should check before you go. Obviously, you're not going to take your little kids to some of these haunted mazes. And some of these places, they really do it right. I mean, they do professional makeup. They do everything you can think of to give you that full scare experience. So if you're into those type of things, make sure you check them out in your area. They're all over the state, and you're going to be able to get your thrill on. Of course, I couldn't put a list of family fun fall things to do without talking about trick-or-treating, which is coming up right around the corner. It's always kind of a rite of passage for any kid to walk up to someone's home and yell out those famous words and be rewarded with a sweet treat. It's a great activity for young and old. My kids are young, so we still walk around with them, and it's kind of fun for us to reminisce about when we used to trick-or-treat and how things work. But make sure you check the times in your area, because a lot of them now don't necessarily do it on Halloween anymore. Some of them will do it the weekend before or the weekend after. So make sure you check your town and area that you live in and find out, when they do it. Most of them have moved it into like late to mid-afternoons now so that the kids aren't running around in the dark. But it's a great activity, and it's a lot of fun for the kids, especially the younger kids, to get out. And it's a way for you to get outdoors, walk around the neighborhood, and see all the Halloween and fall decor that's out there. So yes, it's not what you probably think of getting outside, but again, that's what this is about. It's about anything to get you outside and just get you to enjoy being outside in Wisconsin. And you know what? I'm chalking trick-or-treating up to that. To get out, walk around, get some exercise, burn off some calories before you add calories. If you're like me, you're sneaking in your kid's trick-or-treat bag once in a while. So make trick-or-treating a part. And if you're a grandparent, take your grandkids trick-or-treating as well. They'll enjoy having you along, and you'll enjoy it too. It's kind of, like I said, it's kind of a way to reminisce about when you were a kid and you were able to trick-or-treat. So I realize that this list is short and there are many, many things to do yet. I always feel that it's important to get out and experience them now while you can. Get out there to those festivals. Get out and experience all the fall flavors of Wisconsin. I'm going to put some links in the show notes that are some great resources to some haunted houses, some trick-or-treating times, some of the apple orchards, and some of the corn mazes that are out there that you can visit. We're heading into that time period that I like to call kind of seasonal limbo. It's that time between Halloween and Thanksgiving that most of the outdoor festivals are over, and getting out can be a little bit difficult if you're looking for activities to do. Because, the weather can be challenging. I mean, we're into that period where it rains a lot. It's rained a lot all summer and into the fall. It makes it difficult to be motivated to go out and just hike or go for a jog or a bike ride. It's really important to get out there and enjoy what's going on and what's happening around the state. And I encourage you to get out now and be one of Wisconsin's outdoor explorers during this peak of fall season. Thanks again for joining me. I'm your host, Jason, and I'll talk to you again next week. Thanks for listening to the Wisconsin's Outdoor Explorer podcast. For more great information about being an outdoor explorer, visit our website at wisconsinsoutdoorexplorer.com. Be sure to check out the blog page and follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts.